My sister Kenya slapped my daughter across the face at the family reunion in Atlanta. She didn't whisper it. She didn't hide it. She cackled, that sharp, cutting laugh I knew from childhood, and said loud enough for everybody at the Stone Mountain Pavilion to hear. Just like her mama. Ain't neither one of y'all worth a damn. My father nodded. My mother sipped her sweet tea and looked away. And my 7-year-old daughter, Amara, stood frozen, holding the tambourine she'd been shaking while singing gospel songs with her cousins. They thought it was discipline. They thought I'd shrink back like I always did, swallow it down, keep the peace for the sake of family. But this time, they forgot something. The phone was recording, the one my brother-in-law Deshaun had propped up on the picnic table to live-stream our Black Excellence Family Day for his YouTube channel. And what I did next didn't just wipe those smug smiles off their faces. It dismantled my sister's carefully curated influencer empire, brick by brick. Because when you hurt my child, you don't just hurt a little black girl trying to find her voice in this world. You wake up the mother who remembers every single thing you ever did to silence hers. Kenya was always the favorite. From the time we were little girls growing up in Southwest Atlanta, she was the daughter who never talked back, who brought home straight A's from Benjamin E. Mays High School, who joined Jack and Jill and knew how to code switch perfectly at Daddy's corporate events. I, on the other hand, was too much. That's what Mama called it. Too loud. Too opinionated. Too country when we were supposed to be bougie. Too bougie when we needed to be relatable. I asked questions nobody wanted to answer. I laughed at the wrong times. I didn't fit into their carefully constructed image of a respectable black family climbing the ladder. While I got my hair pressed every week and scolded for getting it sweated out at recess, Kenya's natural curls were praised as good hair. While I struggled in AP classes, working twice as hard for B's, Kenya glided through with effortless A's and a scholarship to Spelman. While I got lectured about staying in a child's place, Kenya was encouraged to speak up. Selectively, strategically, perfectly. She graduated, married a doctor, Deshaun, an orthopedic surgeon, moved to a mini mansion in Cascade Heights, and became an influencer. Kenya Christine Presence, Black Family Wellness, had 300K followers. She posted aesthetic shots of her kitchen, gave parenting advice, talked about generational healing while selling overpriced journals, and hosting $500 vision board brunches. Me. I got pregnant at 22. Took online classes at Georgia State while working overnight shifts at Grady Hospital. Raised Amara by myself after her father, Jamal, got locked up when she was 3. We lived in a modest apartment in College Park, near the airport, where planes rattled our windows but rent was manageable. But I was proud. More than that, I was happy. Amara was everything I never got to be as a child. Confident, creative, unapologetic. She sang everywhere, in the grocery store, on the MARTA train, in church, in the bathtub. Her voice was pure joy, untamed and beautiful. She wanted to be the next Chloe X Halle, she said. I believed her. But deep down I worried, because I remembered how my voice got silenced. How Kenya would cut her eyes at me whenever I spoke too freely. How Mama would sigh and say, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" How Daddy would grip my shoulder too tight at church and whisper, "You embarrassing me." I promised Amara's first cry that I would never let anyone do to her what they did to me. Then the invitation came. A text in the family group chat from Kenya. Stone Mountain Family Reunion, celebrating Black Excellence Party Popper Sparkles Blackheart, complete with a detailed itinerary, a catering menu, a professional photographer, and, of course, a live stream schedule. Capturing our legacy for the culture, she wrote. I almost declined immediately. But then Amara saw the flyer Kenya posted, the pavilion by the lake, the bounce house, all her cousins, and her eyes lit up. Mama, can we go? Please. I want to see Grandma and sing with Titi Kenya. Every instinct screamed no. But I looked at my baby's hopeful face, and I lied to myself the way mothers do when they want to protect their children from ugly truths. Maybe they've changed. Maybe it'll be different now. Spoiler, it wasn't. The reunion was held at Stone Mountain Park, one of those painful ironies Black folks in Atlanta live with. The largest Confederate monument in America, but also where we gathered for family reunions, church picnics, and Black joy despite it all. Kenya had rented the biggest pavilion, complete with a DJ, a dessert table styled for Instagram, and banners that read, "The Harrison Legacy" in gold letters. 2 BMWs and a Tesla were parked up front. Somebody had hired a photographer and a videographer. Amara gasped when we pulled up. "Mama, this is so fancy." Kenya greeted us at the entrance wearing a flowing Ankara maxi dress, gold jewelry, and that influencer smile she practiced in ring lights. "Sis," she said, giving me an air kiss that didn't touch my face. Then she bent down to Amara. "And this must be my little songbird. You've gotten so big, baby." Amara beamed. "TT Kenya. I learned a new song. Wanna hear?" Kenya's smile flickered. "Maybe later, love. We're on a schedule." She stood and looked at me. "Y'all are at table 7. In the back. Near the kids." Of course we were. Inside, I saw the familiar cast. Aunt Shirley, always in somebody's business. Uncle Raymond, always talking over people. My parents, Gerald and Patricia Harrison, sitting like black royalty at the head table, already holding plates. Deshaun was setting up his phone on a tripod, adjusting the angle. "We're going live in 20 minutes, he announced. "Kenya wants the whole day captured. Generational wealth content, baby." I forced a smile and found our table. Amara didn't notice the slight. She was too busy waving at cousins, pulling out her tambourine, humming Kirk Franklin under her breath. She didn't know yet that in this family, black girl joy wasn't celebrated, it was controlled. The reunion followed Kenya's carefully planned agenda, a catered soul food buffet, a family heritage presentation featuring mostly Kenya's achievements, a step competition, and a group photo. Amara and I were treated like extras in Kenya's production. During the buffet, we stood in line behind everyone else. During the heritage presentation, Kenya talked for 30 minutes about her Spelman degree, her business, her commitment to uplifting black families. She mentioned me once. "My little sister's doing her best, too." The family clapped politely. I swallowed the disrespect. Amara tried to be seen. She complimented Aunt Shirley's hat. She asked Grandma about her pound cake recipe. She even tried to join a conversation about church by saying, "I sing in the choir now." Nobody responded. Her voice dropped like a stone into silence. My mother gave a tight smile. "Baby, let the grown folks talk." My father was too busy bragging about Kenya's latest podcast interview on Tom Joyner's show. They want her to speak at the Essence Festival next year. Can you believe it? Our baby girl. Kenya smiled like Michelle Obama receiving praise. I stayed quiet. I'd learned long ago that challenging their narrative only made me the bitter, jealous, ungrateful daughter. Later, Amara tugged my sleeve. "Mama, why does Grandma only listen to TT Kenya?" I squeezed her hand. "Because sometimes grown folks forget how to share the spotlight, baby." She nodded like she understood more than she should. That night, while Kenya and Deshaun hosted a bonfire with the adults, Amara and I sat on a bench near the playground. She pulled out her sketchbook and drew our family, just like she always did, but this time we were standing far away from everyone else. "They don't want us in the middle," she said matter-of-factly. "So I put us over here." My throat burned. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that we belonged, that family meant inclusion. But I couldn't lie. Instead, I kissed her forehead and said, "Thank you for making space for us, baby. Even when they don't." She smiled, unbothered, but I was bothered. I was furious, because the patterns I thought I'd escaped were repeating. And this time, they'd found a new target. The next day started with another catered meal, chicken and waffles, mimosas for the adults, fruit punch for the kids, and more of Kenya's performance. She floated around the pavilion like Issa Rae at a press junket, hugging people, laughing too loud at jokes that weren't funny, making sure every moment was camera-ready. Deshaun was adjusting the tripod when Amara whispered to me, "Mama, can I sing today? The song I wrote." I hesitated. My instinct screamed protect her, keep her quiet, keep her safe. But then I looked at her face, so hopeful, so brave, and I nodded. "Wait for a good moment, okay?" She grinned and skipped toward the kids' table, tambourine in hand. The adults were deep into their second mimosas when Amara started humming. Then singing. A soft, sweet melody about stars and dreams and little black girls who shine. Pure 7-year-old magic. At first, nobody noticed. But then her voice grew stronger, more confident. She hit a high note and giggled. That's when Kenya's jaw tightened. She glanced toward the sound, forced a smile, and kept talking to Daddy. But Amara kept singing, louder now, joyful and free. Kenya's smile dropped. "Sis," she called across the pavilion, voice tight. "Can you maybe tell your daughter to bring it down? Some of us are trying to have a conversation." I opened my mouth to respond, calmly, diplomatically, when Amara launched into the chorus, her tambourine shaking, her voice ringing out like Sunday morning praise. That's when Kenya snapped. She stood. Her chair scraped against the concrete. She walked across the pavilion, past the punch bowl, past the photographer, past family members who went silent, right up to Amara. And before I could move, before anyone could breathe, she raised her hand and slapped my daughter across the face. The pavilion went silent. Even the DJ's music seemed to stop. Amara dropped her tambourine. Her hand flew to her cheek. Her eyes, wide, shocked, confused, searched for mine. And then Kenya said, loud and clear, her voice echoing across Stone Mountain, just like her mama, "Ain't neither one of y'all worth a damn." She laughed. Not nervous, not embarrassed, proud. My father leaned back in his chair and said, "Well, somebody had to check her." My mother looked away, sipping her tea. I was frozen for 1 second. Then I wasn't. I crossed that pavilion in 5 steps and scooped Amara into my arms. Her face was burning red. Her body shook with hurt and confusion. I looked at Kenya. I looked at my father. And I said, loud enough for everyone and that camera to hear, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." Because what they didn't know, what they never thought to consider, was that Deshawn's phone was still recording. And everything they just did was caught on camera. The silence after the slap wasn't peace. It was the kind of tension you feel before a storm breaks. Amara sobbed into my shoulder, her little body trembling. Her cheek was bright red. The joy that always lit her face was replaced with confusion and pain. Kenya stood there, arms crossed, unbothered. Well, somebody had to do it. She was being disruptive. I turned slowly. "You hit a 7-year-old for singing." "I disciplined her," Kenya corrected, like she was explaining something simple to someone slow. "That's what's wrong with your generation. Y'all don't know how to correct these kids." My father chimed in, wiping barbecue sauce from his hands. "Discipline builds character. You never had enough of it, Nicole. That's why you ended up a single mother." Something in me shifted. Not rage, clarity. I looked at Deshawn, who stood frozen by the tripod, phone still propped up and recording. "Deshawn," I said clearly, "is the live stream still going?" He didn't speak. He just nodded, barely. Kenya's face changed. "What are you talking about?" "The video," I said calmly. "You've been recording all day for content, remember? For your Black Excellence series." Kenya looked at the phone, then at Deshawn, then back at me. "You wouldn't." But Deshawn was already moving, slowly unplugging the tripod, his face unreadable. "You slapped a child on camera," he said quietly. "And you laughed about it." My mother finally stood. "Nicole, don't be dramatic. It was just a pop. We all got whoopings growing up." I turned to her. "A pop that left a mark. A pop that made my daughter cry. A pop you sat there and watched and defended." Deshawn met me by my car 20 minutes later. I was packing our things. Amara sat in the back seat, clutching her stuffed bunny, her cheeks still red. He handed me a flash drive. "This is the full video. Everything from this morning. I already stopped the live stream before it went too far, but this is yours." I stared at him. "Why?" He looked back toward the pavilion, where Kenya was frantically trying to control the narrative with family members. "Because that's my niece, and no child should be hit for being joyful." I took the drive, and that's when I knew this wasn't just a bad family reunion anymore. This was evidence. They had finally heard someone who had a voice. And this time, I wasn't going to let them silence it. We drove straight to my best friend Shanice's house in Decatur. Amara was quiet in the back seat, humming softly, broken notes of a song she never got to finish. At Shanice's kitchen table, I told her everything. She didn't ask questions. She just made tea, opened her laptop, and said, "Let's handle this. First stop, urgent care." A doctor documented the red marks on Amara's face. Then we saw a child therapist who specialized in trauma. The therapist asked Amara gently what happened. "I was singing," Amara said slowly. TT Kenya said I was too loud. Then she hit me. Then she laughed. The therapist looked at me, her expression pained. She's showing signs of acute emotional distress. You did the right thing bringing her in. I added the medical reports to a growing file. Then I opened my laptop. Kenya had built her entire brand on Black family wellness, child empowerment, and breaking generational curses. She'd spoken at conferences. She'd been featured in Essence magazine. She had a partnership with a major children's literacy nonprofit. She posted on Instagram about creating safe spaces for Black children to express themselves fully. I reread those words while holding the video of her slapping a Black child for singing. I wrote 4 professional emails. To the board of a children's literacy nonprofit. To the organizers of the Black Family Summit, where she was a keynote speaker. To her podcast network. To Essence magazine's editorial team. Each email was calm, factual, professional. I attached a trimmed clip. The slap, her words, my father's comment, their laughter. No commentary. Just, as a mother concerned about the safety and dignity of Black children in spaces claiming to center them, I felt ethically obligated to share this. I hit send. The first call came the next morning. The nonprofit's executive director. We've received your email and reviewed the footage. We're placing Ms. Harrison Williams on immediate leave pending a full investigation. 2 hours later, the Black Family Summit sent an email. After careful review, we've decided to move in a different direction for our keynote programming. By that afternoon, Kenya's podcast network had issued a statement. We're suspending production of Kenya Christine Presence while we review recent allegations. Essence magazine quietly removed her feature from their upcoming issue. The texts started flooding in. Kenya, what did you do? You're destroying everything I built. Mom, Nicole, this is family business. Why are you airing this publicly? Kenya again. You've always been jealous of me. This is sick. Dad, you're tearing this family apart over a spanking. You need Jesus. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because Kenya's carefully constructed world, built on aesthetic photos, borrowed authenticity, and performative excellence, was crumbling. And it wasn't because I told a lie. It was because I told the truth. I didn't post the video on social media. I didn't need to. The organizations Kenya had partnered with did their own due diligence. Word spreads fast in Black professional circles, especially when someone's been exposed as a hypocrite. But the silence I maintained felt like power. Kenya's Instagram comments became a battlefield. People who'd followed her for years started asking questions. Is it true what people are saying? This doesn't feel aligned with your message. She posted a carefully worded statement. Family is complicated. I'm taking time to reflect and heal. Please respect our privacy. The comments weren't kind. You tell other people how to parent, but you hit kids. The caucasity, wait, the audacity. Black women really be the biggest hypocrites about generational trauma. Her follower count dropped by 50,000 in a week. But something else happened too. Something I didn't expect. Other family members started reaching out. My cousin Brittany called. Nicole, I was sitting right there. I saw everything. I should have said something. I'm so sorry. My Uncle Raymond sent a long text about how he'd watched Kenya berate his daughter at Thanksgiving for laughing too loud, and he stayed silent. Even Aunt Shirley, always gossiping, never protecting, left a voicemail. Baby, I used to think Kenya was just stern. But I see now. She turned into your daddy. Those words stayed with me. For the first time, the cracks in our family weren't my fault. They were coming from people who'd been silent for years. Shanice hosted a small dinner at her house, what she called Nicole's real family night. Amara helped make cornbread. Deshaun came without Kenya. He brought Amara a new journal and looked me in the eye. I'm sorry I didn't step in sooner. I nodded. You did the most important thing. You kept recording. That night, Amara sat between me and Shanice, drawing. This time, she drew us in the center of the picture, smiling, surrounded by people who actually loved us. My mother called the next morning. We need to talk, she said curtly. About what? You've torn this family apart. I laughed, not cruelly, but clearly. No, Mama. I just stopped holding it together. She hung up, and I realized something profound. I didn't feel small anymore. For the first time since childhood, I'd said no and meant it. 6 weeks after Stone Mountain, I hosted something I never thought I would. A celebration. Not a confrontation. Not revenge. A celebration of survival. Shanice brought peach cobbler. Deshaun came with his kids. Brittany and Uncle Raymond showed up with flowers and juice. Even Dr. Matthews, Amara's therapist, stopped by briefly to say, "You're doing everything right." Amara wore a blue dress with her natural hair out in puffs, decorated with butterfly clips. At some point, she stepped into the center of the living room. "Mama," she said, pulling my hand, "can I sing now?" I froze, half fear, half hope. "Only if you want to, baby." "I want to." I practiced. The room went quiet as Amara stepped onto our small rug like it was the Apollo stage. She sang. Not the song from Stone Mountain. Something new. Something she'd written herself. A song about black girls with big voices. About stars that shine even when people try to dim them. About tambourines and joy and never letting anybody make you small. Her voice started soft, then grew clear, strong, confident. I cried. Not from pain. From witnessing healing in real time. When she finished, everyone clapped. Deshaun wiped his eyes. Shanice mouthed, "She's special." I knelt down, hugged her tight, and whispered, "You have the bravest voice I've ever heard." Later that night, after everyone left, I sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, the echoes of Amara's song still in the air. My phone buzzed. A text from Kenya. Just 2 words. "You win." I stared at it, then deleted it, because this wasn't about winning. It was about breaking a cycle that had kept generations of black women in our family small, quiet, and bruised by shame disguised as discipline. Kenya had tried to silence Amara the way they'd silenced me. My parents had laughed, and in that moment, they taught me the most important lesson of my life. That family isn't built on blood, or last names or reunions at Stone Mountain. It's built on protection, on listening, on showing up, and sometimes, to save your child and yourself, you have to burn the old blueprint down and build something new. With tambourines, with singing, with truth.